You stand at a crossroads, even if it's a small one, even if it's just a button to press, a form to fill out, a conversation you've been putting off, and suddenly, your whole body tightens. Your chest feels heavy, your mind starts scanning every possible outcome. What if I choose wrong? What if this ruins everything? What if I regret this forever? That's fear, not of the moment, but of what the moment might lead to. We're not just afraid of making a bad choice. We're afraid of the story we'll tell ourselves afterward. We're afraid of the voice that says, "See, you always mess things up. You should have known better. This is your fault." That inner critic waits at the end of every decision, not to support you, but to keep you frozen. Because if you don't decide, you can't be wrong, right? But indecision has a cost too. It steals your time, your momentum, your peace. And that fear of choosing wrong, it's not weakness, it's human. It comes from the brain's desire to avoid pain at all costs. Your brain doesn't love change, it loves safety, familiarity, patterns. Every decision becomes a threat because it opens a door to the unknown, and the unknown can't be controlled. So your mind races to control it in advance. You imagine every scenario, you try to predict the outcome, you delay, you stress, you freeze, all in the name of avoiding regret. But regret isn't a monster, it's a teacher, and even the wrong choice can lead to the right path if you're willing to keep walking. The truth is, there's rarely one perfect option, just different roads with different lessons. But the longer you wait, the more the fear grows. Not because the choice is too big, but because your mind keeps inflating it. Sometimes the pressure to get it right stops you from getting anywhere at all. So here's the shift. What if the goal wasn't to be perfect? What if it was just to move forward with intention? You can't always know what's best in the moment, but you can know yourself. You can ask, what matters to me? What do I want more of? What will I be proud of choosing, even if it's hard? Perfection isn't the prize. Growth is. And you don't grow by standing still. The fear of the wrong choice is really just the fear of what you might lose. But you might also gain something bigger than you imagined. And the only way to find out is to take the next step. Somewhere along the way, we started to believe there's one right path, one golden choice that will open all the right doors. And if we miss it, if we take the wrong turn, we're doomed to disappointment, to failure, to a lesser version of life. But that belief, that myth of the perfect path, it's a trap. Because life doesn't work like a GPS. It doesn't reroute you instantly. It doesn't light up the correct choice in green. It's messy, it's winding, it's full of switchbacks and surprises, and most of the time you only realize the meaning of a choice after you've made it. But when you believe there's only one right option, every other possibility becomes terrifying. Every decision becomes a test. Every misstep becomes proof that you're not doing life well enough. That pressure doesn't create clarity. It creates panic. You scroll through options, you ask for advice, you wait for a sign, you search for certainty. But certainty never shows up, because it can't. The truth is, most choices aren't black and white. They're gradients, trade-offs, doors that open into new rooms you didn't even know were there. You might choose a job and later realize it's not your forever job, but it taught you something essential. You might move to a new place and feel lost at first, but end up meeting the person who changes your life. You might say yes to something small, and it shifts your whole future. That's not failure, that's living. The fear of making the wrong choice often comes from the idea that once you choose, you're locked in forever. But most decisions aren't final, they're flexible. They can evolve. You are allowed to change your mind, to pivot, to say, this no longer fits who I'm becoming. And honestly, the more willing you are to make choices, the more confident you become in your ability to handle what comes next. Confidence doesn't come from always getting it right. It comes from moving through uncertainty and realizing you survived, sometimes even thrived. The idea of the perfect path is comforting until it becomes paralyzing. Because if you're always looking for the one right door, you'll miss all the other doors waiting for you to walk through. So ask yourself this: what if there isn't one perfect choice? What if every decision is simply a chance to learn more about who you are? Let go of the myth. Trust the movement. and give yourself permission to explore the unknown without the weight of needing to be flawless. You don't need a guarantee. You just need the courage to walk forward and make something meaningful out of whatever path you choose. Sometimes it's not the choice itself that's scary, it's the habit of hesitation. You've paused so many times that now it feels safer not to decide. You've second-guessed yourself so often that doubt has started to feel like home. And slowly, that pattern becomes part of how you move through life. You overanalyze, you delay, you turn a small question into a mountain of mental weight. What if I mess it up? What if I disappoint someone? What if I disappoint myself? This is the fear beneath the fear, the idea that your choices define your worth, that one wrong move could say something permanent about who you are, so you hesitate, you gather more information, you wait for more clarity, you do everything except move, but that wait doesn't ease the anxiety, it deepens it, because when you avoid the discomfort of deciding, you also avoid the reward of taking ownership. You miss the confidence that only comes from doing. Indecision feels safe because it keeps you from failure, but it also keeps you from freedom, and over time, you start to lose trust in yourself. Not because you're broken, but because you've practiced self-doubt more than self-trust. You've rehearsed being stuck so many times that motion starts to feel unfamiliar, uncomfortable, wrong. But here's the good news, just like fear can become a habit, so can courage. Self-trust is a skill, and every small decision is a chance to practice. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be 100% sure. You just have to decide that movement is better than being frozen in fear. Start small, choose the outfit, send the message, pick the next step, even if it's not your final one. Let yourself act before you feel ready. Because ready is a moving target, and waiting for it only reinforces the fear that you're not capable. But you are, and the more you move, the more you remember that. Even when you mess up, even when the outcome isn't what you hoped for. Because every time you choose, you learn. You grow, you get stronger. Fear thrives in silence, in stillness, in loops of overthinking. But it shrinks in the presence of action. You don't need to be fearless, you just need to be willing. To make the call, to take the step, to trust that whatever happens next, you'll figure it out. That's how you break the habit of fear, not by waiting for it to go away, but by deciding to move anyway. You've made decisions before, big ones, small ones, ones that shaped your path in ways you never saw coming. And you survived, even when it didn't go as planned, even when it hurt. Somehow you found your way through. But when fear speaks louder than memory, we forget that we've done hard things before. We forget that choosing even imperfectly is a sign of strength, because every choice is an act of trust. Not in the outcome, but in yourself. Trusting that no matter what happens, you'll meet it with presence, with honesty, with heart. And that's what fear doesn't understand. Fear wants certainty, but growth wants motion. You might not get it right. You might have to pivot. You might look back one day and say, yeah, I could have done that differently, but that doesn't make the choice wrong. It makes it yours. And when you own your choices, even the messy ones, you reclaim something powerful, agency. You stop waiting for the right time, the perfect plan, the flawless sign, and you start listening inward, to what matters to you, to what feels aligned, even if it's scary. Because some of the best decisions don't make sense on paper. They're not easy, they're not guaranteed, but they feel right, they feel true, and that feeling, that's your compass, not fear, not pressure, not the voices telling you to play it safe, to wait, to shrink. Your life isn't a test, it's a canvas, and your choices are the brushstrokes. Each one adds color, adds shape, adds meaning, even the ones that feel like mistakes are part of the masterpiece. So if you're standing in front of a decision right now, and the fear feels loud, pause. Not to run away from it, but to remember who you are. You are not fragile. You are not incapable. You are not someone who always messes it up. You are learning. You are growing. You are becoming. And every time you choose, you prove to yourself that you can. The wrong choice. It's not the end. It's just another path that teaches you what the right one might look like next time. You are not meant to live in limbo. You are meant to live in motion, so make the call, take the step, Open the door, not because you're sure, but because you're ready to trust that you'll find your way no matter where it leads.